Imagine growing up feeling invisible in your own home, where every corner seems to shrink around you, and every rule feels like a chain. My name is Matthew, and I'm 19 now, but if I go back, it all started when I was just 8 years old. That's when my parents separated. My father moved away, slowly becoming the kind of guest who drops by for holidays or the occasional weekend, never long enough to truly matter. My world was my mother. She remarried shortly after the separation, and though her new husband wasn't cruel, he was strict, so strict that I always felt like an intruder in my own home. I couldn't dress how I wanted, go out with friends, or even dream of having my own room. Mom and I shared one, while he had the other. Suffocating doesn't begin to describe it. By the time I was 10, the tension had reached its peak. My father started insisting I come live with him, but my mother resisted. They argued, dragged me into their battles, and eventually she decided to leave him. But moving out didn't mean moving in with Dad. He lived too far and had too many uncertainties. Instead, I moved with Mom into a rented city apartment with a view, a space that felt almost unreal. For the first time, I had my own room, my own bed, a desk, posters of my favorite bands, dark blue curtains I picked myself, and even a laptop she bought just for me. It was like stepping into someone else's life. Mom was in her early 40s, then young, attractive, magnetic. People often said we looked alike, same eyes, same smile, almost the same attitude. Sometimes we felt more like siblings than mother and son. Despite working long hours, she always made time for me. She cooked my favorite meals, helped with homework, bought clothes I actually liked, and at night, when I couldn't sleep, she'd sit by my bed and run her fingers through my hair, just like she did when I was little. I didn't fully realize it then, but in hindsight, that closeness planted seeds that would later blur boundaries I never thought could exist. The years went by. By the time I turned 17, it was just us against the world. Mom had a few boyfriends, but nothing lasted. One, a gentleman named Mark, fell seriously ill and died. After that, she stopped dating. It was just me and her, night after night. I started taking on chores, cooking, cleaning, little repairs, trying to help, trying to fill some void, but it was more than that. There was an unspoken tension, subtle at first the way she lingered when we hugged, the way her eyes followed me across the table, smiles that lasted just a moment too long. By 19, Mom celebrated my birthday with a private dinner for just the two of us. She bought me a suit, poured me a glass of wine, and told me she was proud of me. That night, I realized things had changed. I had friends, girls who liked me, parties where I could have started relationships, but somehow, every time someone got close, she shut it down. She told me they weren't good enough, that I was too young, that I needed to focus on myself. It hurt, but then she'd hold me tight and whisper, "I can't imagine life without you. You're my only real joy." And just like that, all doubts melted away. That night, everything shifted. After she said I was all she had, I couldn't sleep. Her words, the way she said them, the touch lingering on my cheek, it twisted something inside me, something I didn't understand yet. A week later, while tidying her room as I often did, I stumbled across something I wasn't meant to see. At first, I thought it was just lotion, but when I opened it, it wasn't. It was something deeply personal, hidden away. My face burned. I wasn't supposed to see it. That evening, heart pounding, I asked softly, "Mom, you feel lonely, don't you? Don't you think you should find someone who makes you happy?" She froze. Her eyes locked onto mine, intense and vulnerable. Then, softly, she said, "I don't need anyone else, Matthew. I have you. You're the only one who really understands me." That was the night things changed. The way she spoke, the way her gaze lingered it, was no longer just motherly love. That night, everything I thought I knew twisted into something I couldn't name. From then on, she spent more time with me. We went to fancy restaurants, bought gifts, and had what she called our little dates. She smiled when I wore something she chose. At first, I convinced myself it was harmless, a mother loving her son, but it wasn't. Not when she leaned closer than necessary, her perfume mingling with my senses, whispering things that shouldn't have been said. One night, on the couch, she pressed herself against me and whispered, "You only need me." Those words replayed in my mind, and I began to lose myself in them. A few nights later, while tidying her room again, I discovered a hidden metal box behind books on a locked shelf. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. Inside were dozens of photos of me, some innocent, some not taken without my knowledge. Underneath, a handwritten note. "Matthew, you are mine. You will always be mine. No one will ever come between us. I will do whatever it takes." My hands shook as I folded it. For the first time, I felt trapped, not loved, not safe, but trapped. That night, when she held me, every touch felt heavier, more possessive. I told myself I could handle it, that I could live in her world. But deep down, I knew the truth. I was losing myself. Every gift, every smile, every word had been calculated. And yet, I couldn't leave. I was addicted. Addicted to her scent, her voice, the comfort that destroyed me. The next morning, I waited until she left for work, packed my backpack, grabbed my wallet, my phone, some money, and ran. I didn't know where I was going, only that I had to escape. My heart pounded as I locked the door behind me for the first time in years, feeling the strange, foreign rush of freedom. I boarded a bus heading north, through cities, highways, and empty fields. For the first time, I thought maybe I was free. The first nights away were strange but liberating. I rented a small room above a restaurant and worked under the table, washing dishes, trying to piece together a life that was mine alone. For a while, it worked. I laughed again, met people who didn't know me as my mother's son, and even started seeing a girl named Sarah. She was kind, funny, the kind of person who could make ordinary days feel extraordinary. With her, I felt normal again, human again. For the first time in years, I thought I could forget everything that had happened. But freedom has a way of being fragile, and obsession refuses to let go. It started small calls from unknown numbers that always hung up. When I answered, strange texts with threats that chilled me. "You can't hide. Come home. You are mine." At first, I tried to dismiss them as pranks, impossible to trace. But then, one evening, after a long shift closing the restaurant, I saw her. Across the street, her figure familiar, her gaze locked onto me like a predator spotting its prey. My blood ran cold. I realized, in that instant, she had never let me go. Sarah noticed my distraction. She tried to bring me back into reality, laughing, teasing, touching my arm gently. But my eyes kept darting to windows, shadows, the street outside. I didn't want to pull her into my past, didn't want her caught in my mother's grip. So I lied. I said I was tired, that I needed space. Inside, though, I knew the truth. My mother would never let me go. Not now, not ever. The nights that followed were restless. Every sound, every creak in my small apartment made me jump. My mind replayed memories I had tried to bury, her touch, the whispered words, the calculated smiles. Even with Sarah, even with the normal life I was building, part of me remained chained to the fear and addiction of the past. Obsession, I realized, is a shadow that follows you across miles and years, slipping in when you think you are safe. Then came the night before Sarah's birthday. I stayed up late, wrapping a gift I had saved for weeks. That's when I felt it, the unmistakable presence. The door creaked open, and she walked in. My mother. Her hair cascading over her shoulders, her smile familiar and terrifying all at once. "Matteo," she whispered, and every instinct screamed at me to run. But she was already across the room, pressing a finger to my lips, stopping me before I could speak. "Don't call me that now," she said softly. Her touch made my skin shiver. I wanted to push her away, to scream, but my body betrayed me. Every memory, every whispered comfort and terror pulled me in. For a moment, I let it overwhelm me, because fighting her was impossible. Because part of me still loved her, even though I knew it was destroying me. That night, I realized the truth. This wasn't love. It was a prison, and I was its prisoner. I didn't sleep, not a wink. Her hand gripped mine like a chain as I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding, mind spiraling. I had escaped once. I would have to do it again. But this time, I wasn't sure I would survive. Months passed after that night. I escaped again, this time silently, without telling anyone where I was going. I changed my phone number, my appearance, even the state I lived in. I thought distance might weaken her hold over me, might let me breathe without fear. For a while, it worked. I enrolled in community college, found a steady job, and rented a small apartment that felt like mine. It was there I met Elise. She was everything. My mother wasn't gentle, independent, stable. She didn't suffocate me, didn't control me. She simply loved me for who I was, not for what she could possess. Slowly, I began to trust again. Slowly, I started to believe I deserved a life that wasn't dictated by fear and obsession. Little by little, Elise helped me rebuild. We laughed, shared meals, and planned a future. When I proposed, when she said yes, I felt a joy I hadn't known in years, a fragile hope that perhaps the nightmare of my past was truly over. The weeks leading up to our wedding were blissful chaos. Cake tastings, suit fittings, invitations. Every moment was filled with her laughter, a life so ordinary and peaceful that it felt unreal. Then, on the morning of the wedding, standing in front of the mirror adjusting my tie, I saw her, a shadow in the doorway. My mother, dressed in black, eyes blazing with a wild light I had hoped I'd never see again. She stepped into the room as if it belonged to her. "Matthew," she whispered, soft and deliberate. "Did you really think you could marry someone else?" My throat went dry. "Mom, please. Not today. Not now," I stammered, but she only tilted her head, predator, like, smiling. "You promised me," she said, her voice a mixture of honey and venom. "You said you'd never leave me. You'd be everything to me." Her hands cupped my face, lips brushing my ear. "You are mine. You will always be mine." I stumbled back, but she was there instantly, pressing against me, reminding me of every moment she had held me, controlled me, made me hers. I wanted to scream, to push her away, to call Elise for help, but my body, my mind, my past betrayed me. For years, she had been stronger than me, desperate, obsessive, unrelenting. She whispered, "I forgive you. You were lost, but I'm here now. You're coming home with me." Her perfume filled the room, memories flooding my senses, paralyzing me. A few minutes later, Elise knocked on the door, her voice joyful. "Matthew, are you okay?" My mother's gaze turned icy. She signaled, and the room fell silent. Elise's voice grew panicked, insistent, but my mother's control was absolute. In that moment, I realized the nightmare I had tried to escape for years had returned, stronger, smarter, and more possessive than ever. What happened next is a blur. I don't remember how she got me out of the wedding, morning chaos, maybe through shock, maybe because she had always known exactly how to manipulate me. All I knew was that I was in her car, moving through the city streets, her hands on the wheel, her voice humming along to the radio as if nothing had happened. Everything familiar, everything I had built with Elise, the life I thought I had earned, slipped away like sand through my fingers. Her words echoed in my mind. Everything will be fine now, Matthew. Just like before, just us. Sitting in the passenger seat, tuxedo still on, I felt frozen. Elisa's voice behind me, calling my name, fading with every turn of the wheel. My future, the hope I had clung to, was slipping away, replaced by the suffocating reality I had thought I'd escaped. When we returned to her apartment, it was like stepping back into the nightmare that had begun years ago. Same walls, same curtains, same bed where boundaries had first dissolved. She guided me inside, her hand on my wrist, murmuring, "You're home now. Where you belong." That night, I couldn't leave her sight. Every glance, every movement, every whisper of her voice carried a twisted combination of comfort and threat. "If you ever try to leave again, I will find you. If anyone tries to take you, I will destroy them. You are mine, Matthew, forever." My mind screamed to resist, to fight for the life I had almost rebuilt. But another part, the part she had fed and controlled for so long, remained silent. Chained, possessed. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathing, her heartbeat pressed against mine. Part of me wanted to fight, to reclaim the freedom I had known, to run and never look back. But another part, broken and conditioned, told me that I belonged to her. Not by love, not by choice, but because she had chained me to her world long ago. And those chains, I realized, might never truly break. Days bled into weeks. Her control never wavered, her presence constant. Even small acts, pouring coffee, adjusting a blanket, touching my shoulder, carried the weight of possession. Every decision I had once made freely was now under her shadow. And yet, somewhere deep inside, a spark of defiance lingered. It whispered that maybe, someday, escape would be possible again. I just had to find the courage. Months passed, but my will to survive never faded. I began looking for moments, any small opportunity to reclaim a fraction of my life. Every routine, every outing, every small chore became a potential chance. The lessons from my previous escapes, the changes of phone numbers, the secrecy, the calculated distance stayed sharp in my mind. I knew she would always be relentless, but I also knew I couldn't stay trapped. When the moment finally came, I moved fast, precise, silent, no hesitation. Everything I had learned, the fear, the pain, the heartbreak, became fuel. I left without warning, without looking back. And this time, I didn't just run, I built a new life in a new city, far away from the streets I had known, far from the shadow of obsession that had defined my youth. Slowly, I rebuilt myself. I enrolled in college, found work, and forged friendships without fear. And then I met someone extraordinary, Elise. Gentle, independent, and loving in a way I had never experienced. With her, I learned that normal, healthy love could exist. Little by little, I began to trust again. I laughed without fear, dreamed without hesitation, and finally allowed myself to believe that I could have a life that wasn't haunted by the past. It wasn't easy. Memories haunted me, reminders of a possession so twisted it had shaped my very sense of self. But through patience, therapy, and the unwavering love of someone who respected my boundaries, I began to heal. I learned that freedom isn't just escaping, it's reclaiming who you are, piece by piece, day by day. Now, looking back, I know that what I endured was more than just trauma, it was survival. And while the shadows of my past may never fully disappear, I carry them as a reminder of resilience, of strength, and of the power to reclaim your life. If you've ever felt trapped, controlled, or lost in someone else's world, remember this: the chains can be broken. The past doesn't define you. And no matter how dark it seems, freedom is always possible if you fight for it. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories of survival, resilience, and reclaiming your life. Your voice matters, don't stay silent.